We're returning now to our top story, and the man accused of rushing the White House Correspondents Dinner armed with a shotgun, pistol, and 3 knives has been charged with several charges, including trying to assassinate President Trump. Prosecutors say 31-year-old Cole Allen of California, his weapon fired at some point. It's unclear if he fired that weapon or it discharged when he fell. He also faces 2 other weapons-related counts. Federal prosecutors indicated there could be more charges filed in the days and weeks ahead. And this is all raising a lot of questions about security at the dinner and the response, as well as future events that the president or members of his cabinet may choose to attend. Let's bring in CBS News national security analyst and Marine Corps veteran Aaron MacLean. He's also host of the School of War podcast. So let's talk about where you were sitting, table 112. I believe you had Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and his wife at your table. What did you see when everything happened? What was going through your mind at the time?
So I confess, Lindsay, even before the incident happened, I had concerns about the security arrangements I was witnessing. I was pretty shocked that no one checked my ID on the way into this event, that I was able to get to the premises in the first place by showing a screenshot of an invitation to a pre-party. And then you can say, oh, that's fine because the perimeter was tighter in. Well, it was really tight in. The perimeter where the metal detectors were was basically at the threshold of the ballroom, just a stone's throw, literally, from where you go through the doors with a line of sight.
So you didn't even show a ticket to the event. You showed a screenshot of a ticket to a pre-party. Screenshot
to get into the hotel, ticket to the event to get through the metal detectors. Okay. No ID at any point, at any stage.
Was this your first time at a White House Correspondents' Dinner?
It was. I hope they're not all like this.
So, okay, all jokes aside. So your mind is already, from a security standpoint, going, I'm seeing several of these weaknesses. What else was going through your mind?
You know, when the incident occurred, we were just sort of getting to it. The president had come in. It was festive. People were curious about what the president was going to say. And then you just heard a bunch of commotion. You heard bangs. You couldn't, where I was sitting, the band was playing, really hear gunshots. No one at my table, to include the Secretary of War, to include Dana White, the head of the UFC, who was also at my table. None of us heard gunshots. You could hear commotion. You could hear rushing. You hear people saying, get down, get down. And in the confusion, what you could clearly see was the president of the United States sitting in his seat at the table for, I went back and looked at the video, a solid 10 seconds before any agents came to surround him or protect him, which they did, but 10 seconds fully after shots were fired.
10 seconds fully exposed because there was nothing in front of him. He was just seated at a table.
He was seated at a table in view of the room, and I mean, at this point we move into informed speculation, but I expect because of a fair amount of confusion, the Secret Service was also a bit confused as to what was going on. So it was about 10 seconds until the president was covered by his team, and then another 10 seconds before he starts moving off the stage. The Secretary of War, who was sitting at my table, was about 2 minutes before his team came to get him.
Let's talk about that. I want to hone in on him specifically because you had such a good vantage point. So 2 minutes for him to be whisked away by Secret Service.
That's right. This is a man who is an important figure in our government. He's also part of the nuclear warfighting apparatus. This is a very important official in the U.S. government. His security detail, judging by the amount of time it took to get to him, were across the room. There was no one immediately adjacent or even a table or two away or on the wall that could get to him easily. So he was protecting his wife. He was alert. He was, monitoring the situation, as we say these days, for a solid couple minutes with the rest of us in the general population until he had professional security assistance to escort him out. And
so we're hearing from President Trump, Caroline Leavitt, Todd Blanche, and they're all saying that this was a success, that law enforcement did what they were supposed to do. And there's no doubt that, of course, they're brave and they put their lives on the line. But clearly your contention is that something needs to be done for future events.
Yeah, I'll say a couple things. First of all, I want to absolutely violently agree with you. These are extraordinarily brave men and women who really did put their lives on the line and have done it repeatedly. So nothing that I'm saying is meant to take away from that. But two, you can't hold yourself to the standard of this very possibly mentally unstable, not very tactically sophisticated person was foiled. You have to look at how this person was foiled and how your procedures played out, and then ask yourself, what if it had been somebody serious? What if it had been a team of serious people? He was able to go down this unguarded staircase and emerge essentially at the checkpoint. What if instead of one not particularly sophisticated assailant emerging, it had been 2 or 3 or 4 trained on the use of weapons with suicide vests, et cetera, that had a plan? He had a plan. It was a bad plan. What if they had a good plan? I don't believe that what I witnessed would have stood up to a serious test.
I shudder to think of that. Aaron MacLean, thank you. Glad you're okay.